Today's webinar is on progression, and let me briefly share with you, Jenny, Laura, and I will be talking about defining progression, why it is important, what is essential for progression for leaders, indicators that it's time to progress, and what progression looks like. And that's what we hope to cover today. And we look forward to your input as well at the end. So defining progression, you should see on your screen, and hopefully you do, just a definition of progression in general. And what's important in this is to point out that it is a series or a succession or a sequence that links together. So the art of moving forward or moving onward is linked to that series and that building that takes place in progression. Let's talk a little bit about progression in general in Girl Scouts. Progression is the girl-led planning process plus growing in skills plus experience equals progression. And by that, we're talking about things like at Daisy and Brownie levels, basic skills can be simple, and they improve upon them as they practice. As they go through each 16E program level, they increase proficiency in our Girl Scout curriculum as we go forward. Why is progression important? Progression is important because it increases retention, it allows for the best experience, and improves comfort level. And I think that all of us working with the girls would agree that those three things are essential to a great experience. So let's look at why each of those are important. Increasing retention. You always want to leave them wanting more, as you know from working with the girls. Anticipating and looking forward to the next step or the next thing or the next level and what they can look forward to as they progress through. And also, you're previewing those skills and goals as we talked about with the Daisies and Brownies. So if a girl has something to anticipate and look forward to as she gets older, she's more likely to continue the path in Girl Scouts year after year. So she's already thinking about those skills she'll learn and making a goal to work toward that. Allowing for the best experience, a lot of times slowing down is a key component to allowing for that best experience. Smaller lessons at their own pace and making sure that you're providing those learning experiences and opportunities individualized toward the girls. So different learning opportunities, not rushing through experiences is key. Everyone really learns at their own pace, and if you're pushing too fast, you might cause girls to miss some of those smaller lessons. When we talk about providing those opportunities for skills to be practiced and for building more complex skills and abilities, think of yourself as wanting to fish in a deep ocean. Or you're going to start small little trips to the edge of the big body of water before chartering a boat and sailing out into the ocean. And that's what we're talking about here, is being able to practice those skills where you're comfortable and build to those more complex skills and abilities. All right, so when we're talking about this and we're talking about progression, girl-led becomes a key to the whole process because it teaches the building blocks and it teaches failing safely. They fail, they're failing at a level they can handle, and that's an important learning opportunity in itself. Listen to what their opinions are and be guided by them and believe in the girls' ability to plan and carry out and let the girls make the mistakes in order to learn. That's all key to the progression process. And basically, if you can visualize a rectangle with a line running through it up the middle, at a Daisy level are going to be 90% of the guidance that's going on. But as a girl progresses through the levels of Girl Scouting and utilizes those girl-led experiences and they evolve, by the time they get to Cadet Senior Ambassador, the girls are going to be the 90% of what's going on. But the graph just simply shows a stepping stone of progression at each level so that it balances out from the adults being the driver to the girls. Leaders are challenged with finding a balance between that too soon that we talked about and too much that we talked about. So it's a constant challenge between doing too much for those girls and pushing them too hard. But leaders and girl-led troops understand the necessary tools and the rewards, and the attitude is key here. That hard work they're putting in by allowing the girls to plan now is helping them develop those tools, and the rewards will come as they progress. The girls can start to take charge as a result. We had a list for you of things that girls learn, and really the girls are learning self-confidence and creativity. They're learning follow-through and expressing themselves as a group. And in that give and take, they're evaluating, but they're also listening to each other's needs. So what are the indicators that it's time to progress? Well, You can use your program materials for Girl Scouts, but the best barometer, too, alongside those materials that are structured, is the girls' reactions. Every journey book has the national leadership outcomes to help you define when level appropriate progression is happening. Those 15 outcomes provide keys to achieving progression through discover, connect, and take action. But you can tell by the girls' reactions their excitement about progressing to the next level. Too little lack of interest may indicate different challenges. So what does progression look like? Well, let's talk about leadership for a moment within the different levels. With the daisies, the troops sit in a circle. The leaders play that active role in stimulating the discussion and helping to plan the activities and following up on what the group decides. By brownies, they have their brownie ring, and a talking signal is used, and they take turns to talk. They can vote by secret ballot. The leader's still providing guidance as they work through those ideas, but they can divide into committees, and they have a chance to be an officer and be in a leadership role. By juniors, you have patrol systems, you have court of honor, a steering committee or executive board, town hall meeting systems, so that they're really assigning their jobs, taking over the different various amounts. And the length of time can be limited. Everyone still has a chance to serve, but they're deciding ahead of time how they're passing this on into the smaller groups. Everyone's still involved in the discussion and the plans, and often a moderator is identified for girl discussions. But as they go into those smaller groups, they're governing themselves and back to the whole. By the time they get to cadets, they've added task groups, and they may investigate information on a particular question and then carry out parts of the project before bringing it back to the group. By senior and ambassador, they've really gone into the last step where they are actually choosing and creating their government that works for themselves as a group. And they can combine various different forms to create their own government that works for them. And that's a wonderful example of taking those building blocks and giving them the resources and the tools, and then letting them come up with a solution that works for them. Progression in product program looks like the 5 skills. And the 5 skills are an excellent example of revisiting those skills yearly and building on them at each level. So the goal setting, the decision making, money management, people skills, business ethics, they're all occurring at all levels as the girls are selling products. But for daisies, that may be learning to count by 5s. By ambassadors, they're communicating cookie sale business ethics to the younger girls. So again, it has metamorphosed into something where they are now carrying it back back into the Girl Scout community. So where a daisy's learning those math skills, the ambassador has now become an expert and is training the younger girls as part of her badge work. In nature education, with daisies, you're talking about short hikes and discovery, exploring the outdoors, and encouraging questions. With brownies, you come into hikes with purpose, and you're talking about conservation and flowers and gardening and recycling and looking for tracks and animals and engaging that way. By the time you hit juniors, you're observing impact on the community around you and the environment and service projects. And finally, as cadets, seniors, and ambassadors, you've progressed to minimal impact camping and rebuilding trails. And again, it's those building blocks at each level that enable the girls to get to that last level where they can really create their own message back to the community. And finally, we have a quote for you from Let 'Em Be by Bears, A Fearless Guide to Taking Your Kids into the Great Outdoors by Peter Brown Hoffmeister. And it really speaks to these thoughts that we've been talking about. Sometimes expertise requires the study of text and the acquisition of specific skills, for example, brain surgery or tax law. But many skills are intuitive and can be learned through hands-on experience and daily practice. If a young person is going to learn a location or learn to trust their intuition and begin using all 5 senses in the outdoors, he or she has to be allowed to go outside, to be taken into the woods, into the fields, onto bodies of water, or out into the open desert. And those opportunities are created by the adults in the young person's life. If you have questions for us, my contact information, again, Kelly Spears Copeland, and I'm in the Jackson office, kcopeland@gshom.org, and I will be glad to send you out a copy of the PowerPoint, which will also be online. Laura Crosby is lcrosby@gshom.org, and Jenny Weaver, one word, @gmail.com. We're going to give it a couple more minutes because we're hoping that it's just a lag time rather than not getting through it all. So please, if you have questions, we will be here for a couple more minutes to see if we can see them, and we look forward to chatting with you, and you're welcome, again, to email. Thank you, Jenny. There we go. Now we can see a few of those popping up. Jenny has an excellent comment earlier, and it just popped up now, so we'll give a couple more minutes in case anyone else has one. And she indicated you can't balance it out if you don't give them the steps to do so. All right, thank you, everyone. And again, we apologize, and please do email us, and we will look forward to talking with you further then.